We made a goal of 15 grand. We hit our goal within 24 hours. We ended up raising, I think, $342,000 in 45 days, maybe 60 days. We went super viral. Remember those little short clips like Lad Bible and whatever, those little. So those people started reaching out and wanting to do little reels of the time. And they went like, I remember I was at a party or a dinner and it went like, it was like, hey, man, we just hit 1 million hits. Like, then like 2 million, 5 million. It was millions and millions of views on this little, onesie. And then the sales came. So once we had, all that money in our bank account, we had orders, then came the real work.
Welcome to the Driven Dad Podcast, where we celebrate dads that live with passion and lead with purpose. On this show, we'll host some dads that live incredible lives. Being a dad is the most important job you'll ever have. Get inspired by our amazing guest dads that refuse to live life in mediocrity and live epic lifestyles with their families. All right, guys, today we're joined by Marcel LeBlanc, a powerhouse in financial planning, a serial entrepreneur, and an adventure-loving dad. Since 2008, Marcel has helped clients build smarter financial futures while launching standout ventures like Stoke Resorts and Tuxie. You may have even seen him on Dragon's Den. With a background that spans from Sun Life, TD Bank, and Louisbourg Investments, Marcel combines deep industry expertise with a relentless drive for growth. Outside the office, he's snowboarding, weightlifting, sailing, and showing up every day as a rock-solid dad through life's ups and downs. Get ready for a raw, real, and inspiring conversation with someone who's living life on his own terms. Marcel, welcome to the Driven Dad Podcast.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that intro.
Yeah, well, it's the truth.
Yeah, it's yeah. It's funny to hear it sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It feels good to. I feel like we all underappreciate or. I think we're all too humble sometimes about ourselves, right?
We sell ourselves short a little bit.
Yeah, it's important to celebrate our successes and revisit them too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I find particularly hard. I don't think it comes across. I probably come across as fairly confident, but internally it's definitely something that it takes a while to process or sink in.
Yeah, I've heard that in the Maritimes and New Brunswick specifically, we're fairly humble people compared to maybe the West Coast or the States, where people don't mind telling you what they've done and who they are.
It's a way, it's definitely a way to show up for sure. But I think even as Canadians in general, we have a tendency to be humble and let our actions speak for us instead of our words. And there's other places in the world where words and take precedence. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So before we get into the deep stuff,
Yep.
I got a question for you.
Shoot.
So if you could do one thing, what would be your activity of choice to go on an adventure between sailing, mountain biking, snowboarding? What would be your best ideal day?
Day or adventure, multi-day?
Let's do your best adventure.
Best adventure and keep it open. Right now, I'm really excited about sailing. So I think if somebody were to invite me for like a crossing where I can learn and like learn on the job, somebody's telling me like I'm bringing a boat from Bermuda, I need a crew, like when you want to lend a hand, I think that'd be pretty epic, just because of the learning and being so outside my comfort zone. I feel like I thrive on that. And yes, like heli, touring, snowboarding, would love, there's a lot of boundaries I can have yet to push there, especially in mountaineering. And we've talked a lot about that. But right now, sailing's is that new frontier where I'm still very green. And I think, like a significant crossing or something wild would be pretty cool right now.
The spirit of adventure is still fresh on that subject, right?
The mercy, also there's something about being the mercy of your decisions. It's what drives me to go to the backcountry time and time again. The learning, the safety, the awareness. I think it's really cool.
Awesome.
The disconnection too is big.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll touch back on the sailing later.
Yeah.
So I want to know, you've explored kind of some different frontiers on your professional side. You've started out your career with Sun Life, moved on to LeBlanc Investments, and now you've recently launched your own platform for financial education, financial planning. Tell me a little bit about that journey for you.
Yeah, so I did go to university for finance. Actually, I started engineering and then I kind of veered off. I was working at the skate shop at Bourque while in university, and I kind of caught the entrepreneurial bug there. So I kind of quit engineering school, moved over to business. Once I got into business, I really started enjoying the economics and finance, how like it brings numbers to life. There's like logic and all that stuff. So all of a sudden, I wanted to study economics, but I was in a business course, and there's no economics major in business, surprisingly. So I was like, oh shoot, like, all right, well, what can I take? Anyway, so it pointed me towards finance. Graduated in finance, and I knew I was super driven to find my next my first professional job, and I missed the job fair where I was going to go meet all these like uni and whatever assumption whatever. But what I decided to do is like the next day I missed it because it got snowed out, and I started calling every booth that I had planned to go see, and I called them. I was like, "Hey, I'm Marcel. I was supposed to meet with whoever was there," and Sun Life said like, "Yeah, sure, we'll take a new salesman." Like now I know they'll take anybody who's willing to sell life insurance. But I started there, took my license and started selling life insurance to all my friends and family. I was already using social media and videos and platforms to kind of promote myself. Even that's in '08. And that was kind of my tool. I never wanted to be a door-to-door salesman, and I kind of always went against the grain. So I was like, I'm gonna do this my own way. So Sun Life, but eventually it's hard to sell life insurance to friends and family. Eventually you've exhausted those leads. Went over to TD Bank, and while there, I got my professional designation, certified financial planner, and then I kind of got passed up for a promotion at TD. And it was kind of like, you're really good at your job now, and that didn't sit well with me. And then I met Alan Burns with Roy Burns and Associates, Investia, and he was like, "Hey, I think it's a little early, but I think we could take you on as a junior if you're interested." So we struck a deal. I jumped on board there, and then I was more or less an independent financial planner under their umbrella at Leroy Burns for 9 years. So that's where I really built a book of business. That's where the time and the growth of my profession as a financial advisor grew. And from there, I had started OnVisor. So I kind of always wanted to build something bigger than a traditional financial planning practice. And not to throw everybody, all other advisors under the bus or anything, but I've always had an issue with my industry. And the issue was that product seems to be put at the forefront. The product is the lead. Like you get the advice if you buy the product, and the advisor is kind of the gatekeeper. That's how it works generally. Like open a bank account, invest with me, buy some life insurance, and then I'll show you what I know. And I felt like that put advisors a little bit too much in a salesy position. Like I remember going to networking events and people were like, "Oh, they're here, the financial advisors, like whatever, like they're just gonna try to sell you stuff." And I took real issue with that because I knew I just wanted to help people. So I started OnVisor as a way to be an online, stress-free, no strings attached platform. And basically, at that point, I was kind of going in my own direction, so it made sense to take like part ways from Roy Burns and Associates. I had my own admin, I had my own book. I was going to open up shop. So I announced that publicly, and as soon as I did, Lewisburg kind of chimed in, and they were like, "Hey, we think we have a great opportunity for you. We're looking to do this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh yeah, this is like a huge shop, like the biggest investment firm in Atlantic Canada, great group. And then I went there and I worked there for 6 years, built some awesome stuff, helped Assumption Life with their line of business, learned a lot deeper in the investment world, got certified as a chartered investment manager. So got certified and really went as deep as you can as far as an advisory role. And then after kind of being forced to take a step back from work, I kind of after that pause, kind of reflected, and I always had that on visor vision in the back of my mind. And instead of coming back to Lewisburg, it made more sense for me to start my own thing. And this is, on visor 2.0, 8 years after it's started. And yeah, it looks like it's taking shape and people are receiving it quite well so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Once you have that entrepreneur kind of burn,
Yeah.
it's hard to it's hard to go the, I'm going to call it the corporate route, but we have such a strong vision of what we want to create for ourselves and for the people around us that
Yep.
it's hard to be all in into someone else's vision, right?
Yeah, and everybody at Lewisburg, as far as a job, it was as good as it gets. I didn't feel like I wasn't self-employed, and that was like, a big thing at the onset. They treated me super well. It was really a pleasant experience working with them. But at the end of the day, I still have a vision of how I want things to run, and also most importantly, a vision for how I want to live my life. Um, and like you said, I think living in the corporate world within our lifespan is not going to shift enough to the point where I'll be able to do what I want, flexibility wise. Because as you mentioned, the adventure component of my life it is there, and I think 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks vacation in a year is not going to cut it.
Mm, mm. I always like to have the thought of like building a life that you don't need to take a vacation from.
Yeah. Yeah. Passive income, like create something, like create a legacy product where, I take a lot of what I do out of the E-Myth Revisited book. Build something where you can make money while you sleep, man. Like,
It's the best thing in the
it's the
world.
best thing in the world, recurring revenue.
Easier said than done.
Absolutely. You got to step way outside your comfort zone, and I don't think everybody's built to go there.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm going to argue that more people would be able to do it. It's just, the scare, like being scared of taking that first step is, people are scared of what others will think about it.
Yeah. Like, a friend of mine, I remember Marcel, a great guy, great entrepreneur, great coach. And I remember one of his speeches or his keynotes, he talked about like jumping off a cliff.
I remember that.
And remember?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, when you take a leap of faith, whether it's leaving a job, start your own thing, or just starting your own thing, like your side hustle, selling a product that you like making or whatever, it is jumping off the cliff. But you have to have the confidence that you're going to learn how to swim once you hit the water, right? So he used the analogy like there's an island, you see it, it's there, it exists, but you got to jump off the cliff and make sure you swim across the channel. So what I think it's scary to think of taking the leap. It's scary, particularly if you don't think you know how to swim, you don't know what you're doing, imposter syndrome, whatever. But one way to do it is light the forest on fire behind you. Force yourself to jump. Create an environment where it's like, hey, I don't have a choice. I gotta learn how to swim, and I'm gonna swim to that island, which is, whether your destiny, your goal, your whatever.
And failure is where we learn too. So worst case scenario, you're going to learn something.
Yeah. I've had a few deep conversations with somebody close to me about failure and the relationship with failure. And, it's a real thing. We all deal with failure differently. And I think how you do deal with failure, your relationship with failure, your perception of failure, um, will dictate a lot about whether, taking these chances are going to be easy or hard. Like, where on the scale of easy to hard are you good? Is this all going to be?
Mm.
Because if somebody's like, yeah, failing's just a new lesson, uh, that's one thing. But if somebody's like, oh, failing means I failed as a person, for example, oof, that's heavy. You're going through stuff every time you put yourself out there
Mhm.
at all. So, even just having that awareness is important for moving forward.
100%.
Mm.
So, as a financial advisor,
Mhm.
what does a tailored approach to wealth planning really mean?
Okay, let's jump into that. I think a real tailored approach to financial planning is an ongoing conversation, an honest, transparent conversation with whoever you're entrusting to be your pilot or your guide. I've posted before on, I feel like a big way to represent myself as somebody's planner is I'm a guide. I'm the guy with the experience who knows the area, and I have the experience. I know what to do. I know the products, etc. And I can guide the way. So tell me what you're looking to get, where you want to be, and if you don't know, that's fine. Let's figure it out. I'll prompt the questions. So for me, I think it's about an ongoing conversation and a real transparency about what it is not. And I think there's too many people in my industry that would say a tailor-made financial plan is a incredibly detailed financial plan, a roadmap. I would say more than half, if not the majority of planning firms, they kind of lead off with, I'm going to give you this plan, this roadmap. And I'm like, man, your life's going to change in 2 years. Like, what does all these projections that I've spent 10 hours putting together, planning all this out, going to really help? So I think, yes, I think people will always be interested in that. Show me the roadmap and I'll do it. I'm that kind of person. If I get injured, I'm like, what's the physiotherapy? What's the plan? I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna heal. And people, I think, take financial planning the same way. Unfortunately, financial planning is a lot more similar to therapy, where not physiotherapy, but like mental therapy or yeah, working with a therapist, where you change, you evolve, your mindset change, your goals change, your health changes,
Mm.
your income changes. So financial planning is more similar to that, where it's more of an ongoing conversation, and I think it's more important to adapt your plan to where you're at now. So of course you have to figure out where you're at and where you want to be. There's a gap between your current net worth and what your net worth needs to be in a certain time frame in order for to stop working and to live off those assets. That is financial, like that's a financial plan in a nutshell. But to find that out, I just need to know what your net worth is today, what are you doing with your cash today, and how old are you? Like, if you give me those three things, I can give you a tailor-made financial plan. But knowing that it's really kind of just that easy, it's not just that easy, but it can be, then why not do a plan like a dynamic plan where you take the inputs, you put them in a system, and then you keep coming to it. So I like to do bite-sized planning where we address either the missing parts of a plan currently. We assess what's important to you. Is life insurance important to you or not? Do you have a need for life insurance or not? Like, from there, what are you doing with your cash? What about what you're doing with your cash is important to you? Is your spending aligned with your personal values? Who has that conversation with their advisor?
Mm.
Very few, I think.
Mhm.
So I think it's tailored, custom is about your advisor knowing you, paying attention to you, and letting the numbers, the investments, like all the tools I have in my bag, putting them aside, automating them as much as possible, and just focusing on the conversations, the meaningful conversations. That's my definition of a custom plan is the conversations and the honesty. So yeah, I would say it's all about knowing the person, knowing what the goal is, having the vision more than it is about a stack of paper about you're going to do this much in your RSP, this one is your TFSA, and your life insurance is going to take care of your tax bill at the end. It's like those are all conversations to be had, but I like bite-sized ongoing planning is my way of doing it instead of doing like what I call the whole enchilada planning up front, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's a really cool perspective or way to think about it.
Yeah, I like the first thing I tell clients, there's two like major rules that I live by in my practice is one, if shit hits the fan, let the dust settle. Like no matter what, don't do anything rash, don't rush to whatever. If you're going through a separation or somebody falls ill or whatever, let the dust settle. Like don't try to reinvent your life right then and there. That's rule number one. And I would say rule number two that might even be more important than that is flexibility is key. Flexibility. So when I talk about, or am I going to invest in an RSP versus a TFSA, or am I going to remortgage my house versus whatever, I'm always like, what gives us the most exits? So if things don't go as planned, what gives us the most flexibility? All right, well, TFSA is more flexible than an RSP. All right, let's focus on that first, even though it's for retirement, and we can always flip it over to an RSP, get the tax break later on. And so like I use
gives you that peace of mind of knowing that it's there tomorrow if some kind of emergency comes about.
Yeah, and you're not gonna get a freaking T4 for using it, right? So it's all about flexibility and also knowing who I'm dealing with, right? Knowing their limitations. So as long as it's been upfront and once I know what I need to know through a couple frank conversations, then my ultimate like pinnacle of all of my advice and guidance is about maintaining flexibility because things change.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's like you say, like, there's so many variables in life that are not under your control. So it's nice to know that if/when that happens, it's not going to be like full panic mode. It's going to be like, okay, this is not ideal, but we can deal with it. We have this aside and it's available tomorrow in my bank account or whatever.
And there's something to be said for insuring the uncontrollable, right? Like we get car insurance because we can't afford to get in a big accident and be liable for it all. And we insure our house because we can't afford to just buy a new one from our own money and still have the mortgage on the old one. Just like, I have two young kids. I wouldn't be able to live with myself on my deathbed and knowing that I had nothing to give them their head start, right? So, you can use insurance and wills and power of attorney. Like the first layer of financial planning is financial security, which is like, okay, giving you the peace of mind of like, okay, based on my values and what I find important, I can move forward on building my assets, my net worth, knowing that my foundation is solid, right? So yes, you can't control everything, but you can set yourself up so that you have the most options available to you if and when something does happen.
100%. I agree. It's unfortunate. Well, luckily there's people like you out there that are, educating people for free. Your mission is essentially to educate people. But it's unfortunate that it's not more mainstream at a younger age, I find. Because that's where the real difference could happen for society in general, because you already know this, but like the difference between starting to invest at 18 compared to 38
wild
is like, being rich and being average at best financially, right?
Yeah, it comes back to, I think the unfortunate part is that there's a lot of like what I call Tim Hortons advice out there, which is like a perfect example of Tim Hortons advice is, who wants to get paid overtime? I don't like getting overtime because they take so much of it in taxes. Like, okay, I get it. You're taxed at a higher bracket with overtime because it's, you're getting taxed at your highest bracket instead of your average bracket, which is what you're used to get taxed on. But you still, like, even if you pay 35% instead of 20 or 50 instead of what, like, you
You're
still
still
earn
bringing,
more. You're still
yeah,
bringing in more.
yeah.
Like, it's still extra money. But those are just murmurs and stuff that we hear and we anchor to because we might have heard our parents say it, or people, somebody else we trust say it. The other one is like, oh, RSPs are worthless. Like, I taking them out and I have to pay all this tax. And then it's like, don't you remember you saved all the tax by putting it in?
You're paying taxes because you made a shitload of money on
Yeah,
them.
and you save tax. Like, all our RSPs is an interest-free loan from CRA. So think of it this way: it's tax that I was supposed to pay this year. I put it aside in this plan. I paid less tax this year, so it's tax I should have earned based on my income, but I didn't. And then I have to pay the tax on it at some point later down the road. I didn't pay interest on that money I got back. If I took my kids to Disneyland with my refund, of course I'm gonna bitch when I'm gonna complain when I'm later paying the tax. But if I took it out and put it in my TFSA or put it in another RSP and let it snowball, so the people who really understand, so there's Tim Hortons advice, then there's real actual advice. So to come back to your point, yeah, my goal with OnVisor is to, have a platform where everybody can get educated. So whether it's a big business wanting to educate their workforce, or whether it's getting into schools, I want to have modules so I can get into high schools, and this digital learning platform can be available everywhere for anyone, right? From very basic budgeting stuff all the way to more extensive retirement planning strategies. Right?
I love it. I love it. I think that's great. We could talk about this for hours and
Yeah,
hours, I feel.
yeah.
So I want to ask you about some of your other entrepreneurial journeys. Tuxie. So talk to me about Tuxie as a brand, and also your experience on bringing that brand to Dragon's Den, and whatever else you can tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that was a wild experience. It was a success story, particularly in the beginning, and it was cool to bring something that doesn't exist to life. There's something really cool about, like, taking an idea and just bringing it from zero to hero, I guess, and is what kind of happened with us. It was great. We were three friends. We were going to the gym. We all believed in one another, so it was really cool. I was invited kind of late to the party because of my connection to the CrossFit world, actually, because Tuxie wasn't supposed to start as a onesie making company. It was supposed to be like a t-shirt brand called Cheetah. And it was going to revolve around like cheat days. So it revolved around like, oh, you go to the gym Monday to Friday, work your ass off just so you can go like drink beer and eat pizza over the weekend and then do it all over again. So we're going to have like a play on. But then we're like, yeah, there's no money to be made in printing t-shirts. We don't think anyways. Not enough for three of us. So we're like, all right, well, what else? And then we started thinking about, well, what about like, this whole notion of cheat days is like from going from the couch to the gym. And we started thinking about like, okay, couch, gym, like that contrast. And then we were like, okay, well, what's the ideal thing to wear? Like in both circumstances. And then we're like, well, a onesie. And then we're like, well, onesies suck. They're ugly. And then we're like, well, what if they weren't? And then that's when it kind of was like, oh, we're going to make a cool onesie. And then the whole brand came from our validation point. So we were fortunate enough to have some experience at the table for how to properly validate an idea. And we did, I think, a dozen validating interviews with people we thought fit the brand. And somebody along the way said, oh, I would see myself wearing that around a bonfire, not the gym, not on the couch, but on a bonfire, like when it gets chilly at night. we're like, oh man, that's way bigger than like gym rats. Like that's, and then that's how the lifestyle version of Tuxie came. It was like, oh yeah, like it's gonna be, and then that's how we came up with the idea of like the tote bag that it came in. And so we decided to launch a Kickstarter. It was popular at the time. So we kind of knew how much individually we were willing to invest to bring this to light. We started, prototyping different versions. So like the first tuxie was literally a sweatsuit from Walmart brought to like the mall version of a tailor. And we were like, can you put a zipper on the sleeve? Can you put one down here? And then they're like, can we get into the darn thing? So yeah, like that was the first version. Then we took that version and sent it to somebody in Montreal who was like actually made clothes. Then we got another version back, and they had connections in China, manufacturing. So while all that's going on, we're building the brand, the logo. Our friend Cohen did the logo, the brand, and so we're doing those things simultaneously. And then we launched a Kickstarter. We're like, we needed to know that we could sell this thing based on images and videos. Can you sell a suit based on video and lifestyle and whatever? So Kickstarter was a great platform to validate that. We made a goal of 15 grand. We hit our goal within 24 hours. We ended up raising, I think, $342,000 in 45 days, maybe 60 days. We went super viral. You remember those little short clips like Lad Bible and whatever, those little. So those people started reaching out and wanting to do little reels of the time. And they went like, I remember I was at a party or a dinner and it was like, hey man, we just hit 1 million hits. Like, and then like 2 million, 5 million. It was millions and millions of views on this little, onesie, and then the sales came. So once we had, all that money in our bank account, we had orders, then came the real work, figuring, like linking up with like Amazon for fulfillment, like working with different value taxes across the world. Like how do you ship a suit to Russia, like Australia? And then it was setting up the business, right? The e-commerce. But amongst that, the kind of our co-founder went and applied to go on Dragon's Den. We made we passed the first step, or he passed the first step with the company, and then we were kind of invited to go on the show with Dragon's Den, and we went there. We filmed it. It takes like 40. It's a long shoot. Like they edit it down to 10 minutes, but it's a 45-minute experience. We rehearsed. We had a great producer, and Derek did a great job preparing and pitching. And it was kind of like, yeah, if you watch the episode, they're like, all right, well, this is whatever, we get it, but how much of these have you sold? We're like 342,000. They're like, what? And then it became, okay, like, wow, you can sell this, you know how to sell this, like it's cool, it's a remarkable product. And then, we actually went through like handshake deal. We went through due diligence, and basically the day that the show aired is the day we signed our actual deal with the Dragons.
Cool.
Which was kind of cool. So it was a bit of a celebration that day when the whole thing launched, and we got the deal, and we could actually say we are partners with these guys now, and it was good. Yeah, it was a great. The start was a wild ride.
That's a cool story. So I don't want to shit on the brand or anything, but I have like a real question. So do you think Tuxie was a very, very cool lifestyle brand online?
Unreal.
Do you think that the lifestyle brand outweighed the actual product as far as why people bought it?
I think that my thought is the product was there. Every product every tuxie I've ever bought and worn, I think it was great. Like people were willing to pay a very high premium for it. I think the lifestyle sold the product. The product was good, that's why it kept selling year after year. I think where the lifestyle brand started going offside is when the company itself stopped, from my perspective, and I was out of the company by this point, but stopped actually living that lifestyle. So it was still selling what Tuxie was once upon a time, not necessarily. And again, I'm not sure, I wasn't involved at that point later in the game, but I think it was a mixture of both. I think the product quality was there. It was valuable, like, but I think the lifestyle, the shoots, the images you saw sold it, and I think people wanted to be that cool person who adventures
I agree with that. I think people wanted to partake in that lifestyle and feel, the vibe of
Yeah.
what that marketing content was projecting.
Yeah.
More so, like, there's nothing wrong with the product, but I still think the reason why they clicked buy now is because the emotions they felt
Yeah.
with the content that you guys were putting out was really effective.
And we knew that. Like, we knew the product was worth talking about. It was remarkable. We knew we had what Seth Godin calls a purple cow, which is just something worth going out of your way, paying extra for, clicking on nowadays. So we knew we had something worthy. So, and then the lifestyle was just the icing on top. It's what really sealed the deal. It's like, okay, I'm not only like, I can buy a onesie and not feel like a lazy person. I want to identify with this group. Yeah.
So there's even a couple more ventures that you're a part of, but we won't go into that too much. But I want to know, like, how you balance the risk and how you balance your time and your focus when you're involved in more than one entrepreneurial journey, along with all your personal stuff too. But I find it interesting, and I'm the same. I'm involved in a few different things, and it's definitely a challenge for me to know what you should be focusing on a daily basis and to not drop the ball on the important stuff.
Yeah.
And it's always a struggle in my mind, like, should I be all in, like 110% on one thing, or is it okay to, have that thing that I do 80% of the time, and then the other two things, maybe it's more like a passion project and I really enjoy being a part of it.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that?
I mean, I usually fall into the person who has the attitude that I think I can do it all. I obviously, as I get older and I'm, on my probably third phase of, like, I've gone through probably a good 3 burnouts. So I'm the type of guy who takes on too much, fill up my plate, burn out, crash and burn. And then I pick up the pieces, learn a little bit from my lessons, but I, for whatever reason, do it all over again. And it takes a toll, it's hard to crawl out of that rut. It's probably some of the biggest challenges, despite, my various successes. Crawling out of those ruts is probably one of the harder things that I've ever had to do. But to come back on the positive side of this, I think you can split yourself as much as you want if you're that kind of person who can juggle that. The way I do it is through having a physical planner and sitting at the start of the week and planning, mapping out how I hope my week is going to go. Identifying the priorities for that week, being able to understand what is urgent versus not urgent, automating what I can automate. So I feel that it's a matter of approach, but also attitude, and knowing your limits. I would say the hardest part about juggling all this stuff and multiple businesses, multiple projects, is not overdoing it. Right? I think that's the biggest one. So how I do it is I when I'm the most productive, I wake up very early, and like the weeks I do my productive work in the morning. I block off times where I shut my inbox off. Another great tool that I've started doing, which is very uncommon and arguably unconventional, is my inbox doesn't come in my phone anymore. So I'm forced to do emails when I'm sitting down and with a certain piece of equipment. So my inbox gets dealt with when I'm at my laptop. So that's usually if I go to a coffee shop and I'm like, hey, this is where I'm getting this type of stuff done. But if I'm out here recording or doing something else or in a meeting or whatever, and I just have my phone, I can't even check my inbox. I can still email myself reminders.
Yeah. I think that's super important. I've adapted a similar framework a while ago. I think it might have been Dan Martel that highlighted this, but you should be self-aware enough to know when you're creative, your most creative time of the day. When is that for you? For me, it's in the morning, like from 8 to 11.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to open your inbox from 8 to 11.
That's right.
Because at 2, when you're, not so creative, getting a little tired, you're still able to do a low level task like opening up your inbox, replying to a few messages, and 24 hours to reply to an email. To reply to an email is very acceptable.
It's very acceptable.
Whether whatever your opinion is on that, it needs to be known that we live in a world where people expect a reply like in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But 24 hours for an email, in my mind, is very okay.
Yeah. I mean, if the email's followed up by a call and a text saying like you need to sign this or see this or whatever, that's totally different.
There's some exceptions.
There's some exceptions, but the email alone shouldn't be enough to get like. I'm not the type of guy who somebody says jump and I say how high. Like even the people who've worked with me, my admins or people who've worked with me through various roles at Stoke or whatever. It takes them a while to get used to the okay, like this doesn't all need to happen right now. Very little of this is urgent. It needs to get done. It needs to get done in a timely fashion. But like you don't need to disrupt what you're doing. Or again, it's not because a guest said jump that you need to go and say how high at 8 p.m. On a Tuesday. Like
I would even go to the extent to say that like I sometimes get frustrated when someone calls me out of the blue, which is a little extreme. Yeah. However, I often don't answer my phone, and I could. Yeah. Like I'm not like in a meeting or whatever, but that's not where my mind is right now. If I answer your phone call and I'm in the middle of doing something creative, you've just disrupted my creative time. Right?
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, like it has a compound effect on your production and on your focus. Yeah. So I'm the type of guy where I'll take it a step further and text the person and be like, let me know when you want to schedule a call. Because I'm not calling you right now. Yeah. I'm not in that. That's not what I'm doing for the next hour. Yeah. I know what you want to talk about and I'm not going there right now. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally get it. And like nowadays, you can save so much time and back and forth and efforts with technology. Like just having an online booking calendar, like people take it weirdly. Like sometimes I'll be like, hey, you message me like, hey, let's go for coffee. I want to talk about a podcast, let's say. And I'll be like, yeah, here's the link to my calendar. Book something. Like, 100%. Look, here's my availability. Here, like pick a time and then we'll text where we want to go grab coffee. Like
100%.
I used your booking calendar to book this session to come here. And so I think hopefully this becomes normalized because, I don't need to necessarily pay an admin person to go back and forth 12 times to find a block of time to schedule. It's like my calendar is alive online and my time availability is right there. And I get to control that time. Okay, I'm not available Friday afternoons and Monday mornings and Wednesday mornings because that's when I create. And everything else, it's all time parameters and the buffer time between my meetings and that's all controlled.
Yeah. No, I think that needs to become okay.
Yeah. That and processes. Yeah.
So what keeps you motivated to keep learning? Like I know you're a very growth mind person. And what keeps you motivated to keep learning, keep pushing your limits, not surrendering to comfort?
Yeah. Honestly, I've been meaning to post a video about this, and I was so I'm going to use an analogy. I always use analogies, but the other day we were working on our trails in Hillsborough an evening with the boys, and it was starting to get dark and cold, and I had to use my headlamp to kind of see where I was going from the truck to the trailhead or whatever. And basically, what keeps me motivated is the idea that, all right, most people will only travel during the broad daylight when it's warm and comfortable. I would say that's the mainstream. But some people seek out the cold, dark adventures with the headlamp where you just see what's in front of you. You don't see if anything else is around you. You just know a couple steps ahead where your light's beaming, and you have to be comfortable with that, right? And I think success in general comes with that kind of attitude. Strive to be more comfortable in that environment where you really only see the first few steps ahead of you, and trust that you have built the skill set, the knowledge to take the next step without fumbling, as opposed to just, oh yeah, no, I can only go build trails when it's like 20 degrees and sunny, or trek or do whatever. So what keeps me going is the idea that, in order to separate yourself, I think you need to do what most people aren't willing to do. And as we get older, that I think becomes more and more important, because at this, I just turned 40. So, at 40 plus, you can get a reasonable amount of success without really going outside your comfort zone anymore. You have a good job. Maybe you've grown into a manager position. Maybe you've put in your time and the hours and whatever, and you earn good money, and your family's growing and you're content. And that's great. I definitely struggle with the idea of contentment. It's something I'm working on. I think my life would be a lot more pleasurable if I were to be able to accept some contentment in the now and the moment. That doesn't mean I'm not grateful for what I have, but it definitely leaves me with the question of, like, all right, well, why do all this extra stuff? Why not focus all in on the one thing and then just enjoy what comes around it? But I think it comes back to that analogy of, I don't want to settle or be the person who just seeks their way forward in the comfortable broad daylight. I kind of naturally am the person, and I think most people who reach things that are remarkable, who have an impact in the world, the people who stand out, the people, like you and me, for instance, are the people who are comfortable walking in the dark,
Mm.
right? And I identify as that, and I think that's my attitude and my character is a big part of what just keeps me going, you know?
I 100% agree with that.
Mhm.
Great words. Great words. So, going back to the sport world, or the athlete
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
So you've competed at national levels for snowboarding.
Yep.
You've done CrossFit. How does the world of sport kind of shape your mind, or helps shape your mind, to transfer it over to personal, professional successes?
Yeah. So it's kind of, I like how you frame that question, because it's gonna help, me express a big piece of who I am, including some blind spots. So I've been working with a therapist lately, and I've been kind of peeling the layers of what makes me tick and why I show up, how I show up. And sports and physical feats, physical appearance has always been something I truly enjoyed. I like the idea of mastering something. And I think it's because I have an issue with control. I like that when it comes to my body, my body's ability, and how I show up, whether it's weightlifting, CrossFit, or snowboarding, I can control how much work I put in. I control how strong I get. I control how my body looks. Like, I've put in the work, and I'm able to control how I show up in that arena. Um, and I think that's been my main motivator, and it's why I do what I do, and where I thrive in the sports, and I've had these modest successes in the sport world. But when it comes to other aspects, business, interpersonal connections, all that stuff, where I start to lose control, like I can't control our friendship entirely. I can influence how I show up, but I can't influence how you receive it or whatever, right? So it's also been my blind side. My need for control has also been my blind side when it came to like teamwork and relationships. Even with the ones closest to me, the most intimate relationships that I've had, it's been a big, big blind side. In business, it's kind of shifting back towards being an advantage because now I'm like, the teams are my teams to some degree. Like with Stoke, it's different, but me and Mario have a very clear separation of what he handles, what I handle, which is great. So at the end of the day, what I handle is I can be control. I can get the solace of being in control because I kind of get to control it in that sense. And with OnVisor, same idea. My success comes at my own decision making. But again, with my mindset, it was really it's part like small man syndrome. It's part ego. All of that made me kind of have the successes that I've had and the sporting life that I've had. But it's also probably my biggest blind spot as a person, which is kind of interesting, I find.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, somewhat on the same subject, how has fatherhood and fitness helped you go through something as challenging as your separation or your divorce?
Well, so I'll start off with the kids. The kids definitely make me want to be a better person overall. They would probably be the area of my life where I see things the most clearly, because it's one of the first places where I can honestly remove myself and my desires from the equation the most. I am a reasonably self-centered person by nature. Uh, but when it comes to the kids, I've started having realizations again through therapy and journaling and doing the work. Um, they're the first real relationship when I'm like, okay, what does this mean for them? Like I really actually put their shoes on, or I try to, and really, it's the first time that I don't show up because it's how I want to be perceived, how I show up. You understand the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I once was the dad who went biking with his kids because I wanted to post about my going biking with my kids.
Right.
Um, but now, because of my kids and fatherhood and the separation and the rethinking of how I've showed up in my life and whatever, you know, looking at my blind spots, etc., all that reassessment, I've come to realize that, okay, no, like scrap that. Like, yes, it's great. And like, yeah, if I get to share it through social media and motivate the next person to show up better,
Mm-hmm.
fine. But now it's about like, okay, what do my kids want? They want me here now with them. They don't want in 10 years to see the real about me taking them to Rotary biking. They want me to, when I'm at Rotary biking, be at Rotary biking with them. So with my kids, and especially again with the separation and walking them through this, my oldest is going to be 11, so she kind of has a good handle on the situation. Having kids also taught me how to create space for somebody other than myself. And that's been huge. My recent personal relationships too have, I've learned how to do that. But sport has helped me stay true to who I am. So on the other selfish part, sport, biking, sailing, working out, making time for self-care. As much as I've been slipping and it hasn't been as high a priority in recent years. Again, according to me, for pretty obvious reason, I just have a lot of big fish to fry right now. But whenever I do make it a priority, whenever I do go, I started going to the climbing gym like a couple times a week, and then between that, I bike and walk and whatever, do yoga at home. But I've noticed that the feeling, the rush, the carry through that I get over the day, if I do go and lift weights and do something that brings me back to that feeling of control that I had while I was training the most, like back in the CrossFit days when I like felt like on top of the world to some degree. You know what I mean? Like I was accomplishing things. And again, it was just a small part of my life at the time. Like I had a kid, I was married, I had a job, like, but the fitness and the physical and the fitness part was a big part of who I was, big part of my identity. And lately, by working out more and more, I did kind of do in and out with CrossFit again, and that felt very familiar and good. Um, I didn't follow through with it as much as I would have liked. I think with your new meetings there, I think I'll get me through the door
Men's
again.
club,
A bit more
yeah.
the men's club, yeah.
Mhm.
But it's helped me. It's helped me get through. And what I could say it has really done, the fitness side or the the healthy side, has been reminding me of what like made me me, right?
Mm.
Like
Your
working out
roots.
and my roots,
Mm.
and it really triggered this feeling of a person I once was. And as much as I've learned a lot from that person, like in the last couple of years,
Mm.
that person to this person, there's nothing wrong with hanging on to the good parts of that other person,
Yeah, 100%.
right? And the fitness and the working out and carving out time for me is reminds me of the good part of that person.
Mm. You could also say that whatever it is that you decide to do for fitness, whether it's as easy and low intensity as going outside for a walk or intense as a CrossFit workout or a bike ride or whatever, that 20, 30 minutes, 60-minute workout is like a time frame where you have no time to think about your current challenges, your
Yeah.
current life situation,
hmm
and it puts you in a frame of mind that is freeing. Like if
Absolutely.
you're riding down on a bike at 30K an hour in a single trail, you're only thinking about the handlebars and the wheel in front of
Yeah.
you,
Your
right?
weight
So
distribution, whatever.
once that 60 minutes is done, it's like a reset.
Absolutely.
You're like, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready to take on the next challenge compared to the minute before you hopped on your bike, you might have been like, holy shit, I'm beat. I'm defeated
Yeah.
today. It's just a shitty day. Then you hop on your bike. 2 minutes after that bike ride is done, you're like, let's go. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take over the world.
I'm back. I'm back.
Mhm.
And I think that's been very therapeutic for me too. Where yeah, I like to go in the gym in an environment where the phone, like
Mhm.
I don't bring the phone with
Total
me when I'm in the
disconnect.
gym. Yeah, that's what I like about like rock climbing, the problem solving of it. Like it brings me like you're clinging to rocks, like to holes. You're like definitely not thinking about who I didn't call or
Right.
when am I going to post my next video or which the next lesson I'm going to post about. Like everything shuts down and you're focused on that. Same thing with mountain bike. Same thing with CrossFit. CrossFit did that for me too because you're like gasping for air and trying to survive. Like, so yeah, it does have a huge reset and it's something that I look forward to bringing into the fold as I settle other aspects of my life that I'm currently dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So before I leave you, Mars, or before I let you go, I want to know what legacy you want to leave for your kids, your family, your clients, your
hmm
community. What do you think of when you think after you're gone?
hmm
How do you want people to think about you?
Um, I think the most impactful book that I've read is the book called Mindset, Carol Dweck. And I guess what I want, the message I'd like to leave behind is, that you can do most of what you set your mind to, like, like paraphrasing Eminem here, but basically, like, if you work hard enough, if you put in the work, if you believe that you can learn, if you don't, like, if you remove your own limitations, if you realize that, if you realize that you are your own limitation, the sky's the limit. You can help people, do good, put people first, the money will follow. So I guess for my kids and the people around me, the people who know me, I want to be the guy who made somebody realize that they could do whatever they thought might be out of reach or too hard. A good example of that is like when I posted about me reaching 100 days without alcohol the other day. Um, I got a lot of message, got a lot of love, got a lot of message, and it resonated with a lot of people. And I think it's because a lot of people have been thinking about it for a very, very long time. And it's like I mentioned, I didn't have a drinking problem, but I started having a problem with drinking because I didn't sleep well and it affected my how I showed up. So I like the idea of, showing people that they are capable of more. And I do it by, I kind of do it leading by example. And it's the same with my kids. I try to teach them that they can resolve their own issues, that they can fix their own problems, that if they can get out of their own head, they don't have to be stuck with anything. They can learn and find their way. And I think that's applies to financial planning, whatever. Like I'm so stoked when somebody just signs up for my basic course. I'm like, man, you invested in yourself. Like I'm so stoked. Like let me help you. So that's what I like about this new phase of my life is I'm building the tools to help people who want to help themselves. And Stoke is no different. I want people who want to, crack into that lifestyle of, oh, I want to go to the ski hill and stay at the ski hill. Cool. Like there's a place for you to go and see if that's your thing now. Like, oh, I want to be someone who hikes and explores and whatever. Cool. We built this amazing place where you can go and see if that's your thing, right? It's within reach now. So I like the idea of leaving people believing that everything they want is within reach.
That's amazing. And it's people doing the things that you're doing that make it look attainable, right, for others. Because if people would just keep doing what everyone's doing, then nothing special would happen. Everyone would have the same results, and
nothing would change. And I think we're a species that is bound to evolve. So all I feel I'm doing is evolving and using the tools at my fingertips to do it. I think what differentiates me from the next guy is my willingness to try something new and fail. Like I'm willing to put myself out there. I'm willing to create something that maybe doesn't bring the dividends up front, but in the long run might bring big dividends, right? So to not be afraid to do the work, not be motivated by the wrong things. Don't stay hung up on immediate rewards, like immediate, like delayed gratification is a major thing, whether it's about investing in whatever, but investing in yourself. And if you start working out today and you have a large fitness, let's say you want to lose a considerable amount of weight and you've never worked out and you start tomorrow, you got a long friggin' road ahead. You do. There's no way around that. But start. Like like I've said before, every mountain climb starts with the first step. Every single one. Doesn't care if it's Mount Everest or friggin' Poli.
But what if you're afraid? So what would you tell to people that are holding back on a good idea they have or a passion they have, and the only reason that they're not moving forward is their failure, their fear of failure.
Fear of failure. I think, you probably have to unwrap why you have that fear of failure. If you can kind of figure out through conversations, journaling, therapy, whatever, what is anchored, why are you so why something like failure makes you freeze, then I think you can start chipping away and having that fade to a point where your logic can say okay, so what you need to do is take away the paralyzing version of fear and replace it with, okay, fear is normal, it's a part of failure. Like life doesn't end if this doesn't go well.
Exactly.
You don't have to bet the farm. You don't have to quit your job to start the side gig. You can start small. You can validate that. You can start a business idea with a Google form. Like, ask people, would you buy this? For how much? Is it a good idea? Like, you can,
I like to build it backwards too, in the sense of like, or calculate the risk backwards. Like, what is the worst case scenario?
yeah,
I had this happen to me this week where I wanted to launch the men's club that you were talking about. And this hasn't happened to me in a little while, where like I was afraid of the reaction, right?
yeah,
And I thought in my head, like, I created this, what I thought was a cool piece of content about the launch and whatnot. And I asked a few key people in my life, like, what do you think about this? Because I was afraid to post it.
yeah.
Or I was afraid of what people would say about
If it
it, or
lands
think about
flat
it, or
or
whatever.
Yeah,
And then I was talking to Renee, my wife, and I was like, well, the worst case scenario on this specific thing is either like, if it sucks and it flops and it fails or whatever, people are going to forget about that piece of content, never think about it ever again.
yeah,
Or best case scenario, this thing's going to be fucking epic.
yeah,
And it might, create new opportunities that I haven't even thought about yet. So the worst case is really irrelevant. Like, it's just like, suck it up, like suck up your ego a little bit for a few days or a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And the best case is there's potential opportunities here, right?
Yeah. That's the hardest part about putting yourself out there, is that everything's so measurable now. So you get to see how many views you get, like every 5 minutes if you wanted to. Like, oh, how many people saw this? How many people shared it? How many people liked it? And I have a real like addiction problem with that, because I go all the time, and then I'm on my phone, and then like and talk to anybody in my life, and they're like, yeah, like I have a problem, and I justify it by, well, I need to check in on how my video is doing, or how my ads doing, and or whatever. Did somebody message me from Stoke or whatever? But the instant feedback really plays on that fear of rejection or failure or whatever. So I think, and I'm learning this. I can't say that I practice this, but I think the idea is to distance yourself from it. And why expose yourself to that degree? Like, give it a couple days before you check like your results, and just manage your expectations, right? Like you said, what is the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario was literally nothing. Was that like a couple close friends are like, oh yeah, this is cool, or whatever. Then the best case is you motivated a couple people to change their life completely.
And honestly, if it did that to one person, mission accomplished.
Exactly. Right? You feel good about it.
The other thing too is we have to constantly remind ourselves to not seek validation from everyone, but only from key people that you think greatly of, and that think greatly of you, and that have aligned values and code of ethics, that think the same way as you, that have similar goals, that are like-minded. I think it's okay to ask those people what they think. And I think it's the total opposite. It's actually ridiculous if you ask anyone that is not seeking the same things as you in life.
Absolutely.
Because why would you ask advice or what a person thinks about whatever from someone that is not striving to live the same life as you? Why would you ask them about anything? Their opinion is arguably, not relatable and not tangible to the result that you're seeking, right?
We're quick to give people that power. We're way too quick to give people that power of what do they think. And it's a really, really good point to check yourself and leave what needs to be left to its own, like people's opinion who don't align with you and what you're up to, as opposed to the people who matter, the people who know you and know what you're. So for me, like OnVisor has been a pretty big trip about that, where like, okay, I'm getting really good feedback from the few people that I really built this for, and they're really enjoying it. The fact that it's landing maybe flatter or doesn't have the uptake that I thought it might have instantly just proves the point of business average. Like, shit takes time. Like it's not gonna land. You know, you need to tweak the formula. You need to do a bunch of things that I haven't done yet to build the trust, to, you know, get the snowball going. So yeah, when you put yourself out there and you put a lot of your work and effort into a product or a post or something, you know, we have expectations, but to your point, managing the expectations and which ones are we going to pay attention to matters a great deal in your enjoyment through the process.
I also believe that we should be more concerned if everyone likes you or your content or your product
Yeah.
than if only a handful of people or like, you know, a specific niche
Yeah.
type of person
Like your
likes
people.
you. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's like people shouldn't strive to get everyone's love, just the right people's love, right?
Yeah, honestly, one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the last couple of years is so, you know, I'm going to be very candid and open here, but basically, you know, going through a separation is tough. It changes a lot of things. It changes what you can and can't do. It changes your financial output, your economic situation, everything. And, you know, what that did for me, all of a sudden not being able to do all that I was able to do yesterday, it really checked me as to, okay, what do I really want to be doing? What's important? Chasing the next best trend or keeping up with the Joneses. I'm just gonna generalize here. And keeping up with the Joneses, all of a sudden wasn't really an option for me, and I had spent considerable amount of time, effort, and resources in doing just that, keeping up with the Joneses. I've a lot of friends around me who are, you know, developing considerable wealth, and they're going on all these expensive, lavish trips, and, you know, whatever. And for a while, I was like, oh, like, yeah, that's what I want. Like I'm a successful advisor. Successful advisors make money, and people who make money can do that. You know, so I should be by default, like, I'm coaching them to keep their money and build their money. So I clearly should be the guy. I should be on that plane and taking that trip. But then the divorce kind of took a lot of that just away overnight. And what I realized is I was going down the wrong path. I wasn't going down the one that was going to make me the happiest, you know? So now I'm a lot more in line with my values. And I'm like, okay, instead of spending 15 grand in Vegas, I could buy like a top of the line e-bike with that, or I can travel, I can bring my whole family to Europe for that money, or I can reinvest it in my business. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't spend the same way or do the same anymore. And that's because I was forced into that situation.
Yep.
Right? Which sucks. It's a very jagged pill to swallow. But on on the flip side, your true colors come out, right? So through being kind of snuffed out to some degree, I came to realize that, all right, like, you know, there's compromise here. Yeah, I really enjoyed my motorcycle and what that brought to my life, but I wanted to learn how to sail. I couldn't do both. So I, you know, sold the motorcycle, sold the ATV, and bought this little, very inexpensive sailboat to start that there. Ideally, if I keep, you know, having some success and financially, you know, it snowballs. Yeah, I want another motorcycle and I want to rebuild, but it's not going to be because of the same motivations. And it's not going to be because I feel that's where I should belong. I don't care about the optics of being perceived as a successful advisor. I was like, I've always believed that the definition of a successful advisor is somebody who helps friggin' people, right?
True.
So if I'm doing the best for my clients and helping people and educating people and doing my work and taking care of the people who choose to work with me, whether that whether that tremendous financial success follows that or not is not the priority anymore.
Right.
And so yeah, so that was kind of a big realization that, like, all of a sudden, I am okay with people going down a certain road they're still my best friends. I still carry on relationships with people who, spend and live a different life. I respect that. I celebrate it as well. But before, I would have felt really shitty about not being able to partake. I felt like I had to be there. And actually, stopping drinking was really another kind of sobering light into okay, like showing up is enough. Like I don't have to go and be the life of the party and get really fucked up at the party. Showing up, saying happy birthday, do a couple hours, staying sober and driving home at 11.
Yeah.
Well, you can do the equivalent in life. Like you can still go and show up and go lunch with your friends and whatever. You don't have to go on the Vegas trip.
Essentially, you end up respecting your own code of ethics and the things that you find really important to yourself in life.
Yeah.
Like if it's like going to bed early, like you just said, you show up to the party, you say hi, you say happy birthday, kind of like what I did
like
to
Friday.
at your party the other day,
Yeah.
like I wasn't not going to show up.
Yeah.
But I did not want to drink.
Yeah.
I was social for a few hours and I came back home and I was in bed at 9:30.
Perfect night.
But that relates to everything in life. Like you just said, like the keeping up to the Joneses type stuff. Like it's like you said, like, oh, buddy's got a $200,000 boat. Freaking good for you, man. Awesome. I'll go with you.
Yeah.
I don't want one.
Yeah.
I'm good with, going out with my family on our bikes.
Yeah.
That's what makes us happy.
Yeah.
Instead of like breaking my back to try to afford that boat and using it 3 times per summer because I need to work the rest of the time to afford it type of thing.
Totally. And I mean, swapping out and learning and stopping and reflecting on things. I did have the practice of journaling for probably 8 to 10 years, but it didn't go inward. It was all outward. So all I was doing was regurgitating the stuff that I was reading through self-help books and whatever. But once I started, once life forced me to slow down, the real priorities bubbled up, and you kind of find your way, man. Like that's the name of the game at this point. Like a lot of people are like, oh, how you do it? And then it's like, you find a way, man. Like it's as simple as that. It's not as easy as that, but it is as simple as that.
Well, it's good for you that you found the way, like you said, and that you figured things out on your end. I'm gonna stop you there. We could go on for hours and hours, but thank you very much for being on the show, Mars.
Thanks for bringing me.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you showing up like you do as a father and out in our community, and I appreciate our friendship. And
man. Likewise.
Thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Cheers.